Rangers rushed to save a lion from a giant python. What the male did next shocked everyone. The African sun was just beginning its slow climb over the golden grasslands of Kruger National Park when Ranger Sarah Martinez heard the distress call. Crackling through her radio, her coffee cup froze halfway to her lips as the panicked voice of her colleague Tom echoed through the quiet morning air. "Sarah, we need backup immediately. We have a situation near the riverbank. A massive python has wrapped itself around a lioness, and there's a male lion going crazy trying to help her." Sarah's heart skipped a beat. In her 15 years as a wildlife ranger, she had seen many incredible things, but a python attacking a full-grown lioness was something that would test even nature's most powerful predators. She grabbed her emergency kit, called for backup, and raced toward her Jeep, knowing that every second could mean the difference between life and death. The dusty road seemed endless as Sarah drove through the early morning mist. Her mind raced with possibilities. Pythons this large were rare in the area, but when they appeared, they were capable of taking down animals much larger than themselves. A lioness, despite her strength and hunting skills, could be in serious trouble if caught off guard. As she approached the riverbank, Sarah could hear the most heartbreaking sounds she had ever encountered. The roars weren't the proud territorial calls she was used to hearing from lions. These were desperate, pain-filled cries that seemed to tear through the morning air like thunder. Her hands gripped the steering wheel tighter as she pressed the accelerator, knowing she was racing against time. When Sarah finally reached the scene, what she saw took her breath away. There, beside the muddy riverbank, was a sight that would stay with her forever. A beautiful golden lioness lay partially in the shallow water, her powerful body almost completely wrapped in the thick, muscular coils of what appeared to be a 20-foot African rock python. The snake's massive body gleamed in the morning sunlight, its patterns beautiful, yet terrifying as it slowly tightened its deadly embrace. But what truly shocked Sarah was the male lion standing just a few feet away. This magnificent creature, with his thick dark mane and powerful build, was pacing back and forth in obvious distress. His golden eyes were fixed on his mate, and every few seconds he would let out a roar that seemed to shake the very ground beneath Sarah's feet. It was clear that this wasn't just any lioness. This was his partner, his companion, and he was watching her life slip away. Tom was already there with his tranquilizer gun, but Sarah could see the problem immediately. The python and lioness were so tightly wrapped together that any shot meant to sedate the snake might accidentally hit the lioness instead. And with the male lion's protective behavior, getting close enough for a clear shot seemed nearly impossible. "How long have they been like this?" Sarah whispered to Tom, not wanting to startle the already agitated male lion. "We found them about 20 minutes ago," Tom replied, his voice tight with worry. "But from the tracks around here, it looks like this has been going on much longer. Maybe an hour or more." Sarah felt her stomach drop. An hour was a long time. For a python's constricting grip, with each breath the lioness took, the snake would tighten just a little more, making the next breath harder to take. It was a slow, terrible process, and time was running out fast. The male lion suddenly stopped pacing and looked directly at the two rangers. For a moment, Sarah felt her heart stop. Those golden eyes held an intelligence that seemed almost human. It was as if he understood that these strange creatures with their metal sticks and loud machines might be his mate's only hope for survival. Instead of charging at them or running away, the male lion did something that left both rangers speechless. He walked slowly toward his mate, lowered his great head, and began to gently lick her face. His rough tongue moved carefully around her eyes and ears. Sarah could swear she saw tears forming in the mighty predator's eyes. "We need to act." "Now," Sarah said, checking her tranquilizer gun. "But I need you to create a distraction. If we can get the male to move just a few steps away, I might have a clear shot at the python's head." But before Tom could respond, something incredible happened. The male lion seemed to understand their plan. He looked at Sarah, then at her tranquilizer gun, and then back at his mate. Slowly, deliberately, he moved to the other side of the struggling pair, positioning himself so that Sarah had a perfect angle to shoot the python without risk of hitting the lioness. "Did you see that?" Tom whispered in amazement. It's like he knows we're trying to help. Sarah's hands trembled slightly as she raised her weapon. This shot had to be perfect. It's weak, and the python might not be affected. Too strong, and it could be dangerous for the lioness as well. She took a deep breath, steadied her aim, and fired. The dart hit the python perfectly, right behind its massive head. But pythons are incredibly strong creatures, and it would take several minutes for the tranquilizer to take full effect. During those agonizing minutes, the snake actually tightened its grip even more, causing the lioness to let out a weak cry that seemed to pierce everyone's hearts. The male lion's response was immediate and heartbreaking. He moved closer to his mate and began to push against the python with his powerful shoulders, trying to create space between the snake's coils and the lioness's body. His claws dug into the muddy riverbank as he used every ounce of his strength to fight an enemy unlike any he had ever faced. Sarah and Tom watched in amazement as this incredible drama unfolded. Here was one of nature's most powerful predators, not hunting or fighting for territory, but showing a level of love and devotion that seemed almost too beautiful to be real. And here's something amazing. Dear friends, if you're enjoying this incredible story of love and survival in the wild, please take a moment to like and subscribe to hear more amazing tales from the animal kingdom. These real stories of courage and connection remind us why protecting wildlife is so important. Slowly, very slowly, the tranquilizer began to work. The python's grip started to loosen, its massive coils relaxing bit by bit. The male lion seemed to sense the change immediately. He increased his efforts, carefully working his way between the snake and his mate, using his body as a wedge to separate them. Now's our chance, Sarah said, moving forward with a long stick to help push the python away. But we need to be careful. Even drugged, this snake is still incredibly dangerous. Working together, the two rangers and the male lion managed to free the lioness from the python's deadly embrace. As soon as she was clear, the exhausted lioness took a long, shuddering breath, the most beautiful sound Sarah had ever heard. But the story was far from over. The lioness was weak, dehydrated, and had several injuries from the python's grip. She tried to stand but collapsed back onto the muddy riverbank, her golden fur matted with mud and blood. What happened next shocked both rangers to their core. The male lion didn't celebrate their victory or show relief that the danger was over. Instead, he immediately lay down beside his mate, positioning his large body to shield her from the sun. Then, with incredible gentleness, he began to clean her wounds with his tongue, working methodically to remove mud and debris from her fur. "In all my years doing this job," Tom whispered, "I've never seen anything like this." Sarah nodded, unable to speak. She had always known that lions were social animals, but witnessing this level of care and devotion was something beyond her wildest imagination. The male lion continued his gentle ministrations, occasionally looking up at the rangers as if to say thank you before returning his attention to his mate. Hours passed as the rangers monitored the situation. They had called for a wildlife veterinarian, but the nearest one was several hours away. In the meantime, they could only watch and wait, making sure both lions stayed safe and hydrated as the day grew hotter. The male lion's behavior became even more remarkable. He would periodically leave his mate's side to walk to the river, soak his mane in the cool water, and then return to lay against her, providing natural air conditioning with his wet fur. When she tried to drink but was too weak to reach the water, he used his massive paw to splash small amounts toward her mouth. By the time the veterinarian arrived in the late afternoon, the lioness was already showing signs of improvement. Her breathing was stronger, and she had managed to lift her head several times, but she was still too weak to stand on her own. "We need to get her to our wildlife center for proper treatment," Dr. James Wilson explained after examining the lioness. But transporting a wild lion is never easy, especially with a protective male nearby. Once again, the male lion seemed to understand the situation. As the team prepared the transport cage, he stepped back, watching carefully but not interfering. It was as if he knew these humans were trying to help, it's not harm. The most touching moment came when it was time to load the lioness into the transport vehicle. She looked back at her mate with eyes that seemed to say goodbye, uncertain if she would ever see him again. The male lion responded with the gentlest roar Sarah had ever heard, not the powerful territorial call of a king, but the tender voice of a worried husband. For 3 weeks, the lioness recovered at the Wildlife Center. During that time, something amazing happened. Every single day, without fail, the male lion would appear at the edge of the forest near the center. He would sit there for hours, just watching and waiting. The staff began to call him Romeo because of his obvious devotion. Dr. Wilson had never seen anything like it. "Wild animals don't usually behave this way," he explained to Sarah during one of her visits. "But this male lion has somehow figured out that his mate is here and he's not going anywhere until she comes back to him." The day finally came when the lioness was strong enough to be released back into the wild. The entire ranger team was there to witness the reunion, and what they saw was something that would stay with them for the rest of their lives. As soon as the transport cage was opened, the lioness stepped out slowly, still a bit weak but clearly healthy. The male lion, who had been waiting at his usual spot, immediately stood up. For a moment, both lions just looked at each other across the clearing. Then, simultaneously, they began walking toward each other. When they met in the middle of the clearing, the male lion did something that brought tears to every person watching. He gently rubbed his great head against hers, purring so loudly that everyone could hear it from 50 feet away. Then he began to groom her face, just as he had done on that terrible day by the river. But the biggest surprise was yet to come. As the two lions nuzzled each other, Sarah noticed something that made her gasp. The lioness's belly was slightly swollen. She was pregnant. All during her ordeal with the python and her recovery, she had been carrying cubs. "That explains everything," Dr. Wilson said softly. The male lion wasn't just protecting his mate. He was protecting his future family. Over the following months, the ranger team kept a careful eye on the lion pair. The lioness gave birth to 3 healthy cubs in a den not far from where the python attack had occurred. And the male lion proved to be an exceptional father, playing with his cubs, teaching them to hunt, and always staying close to protect them. But perhaps the most amazing part of this story happened 1 year later. Sarah was doing her regular patrol when she spotted the lion family near the same riverbank where the dramatic rescue had taken place. As she watched through her binoculars, she saw something that made her smile. The 3 cubs, now almost grown, were playing in the shallow water while their parents watched from the bank. When one of the cubs ventured too close to some thick reeds where a snake might hide, the male lion immediately got up and gently guided his youngster back to safety. It was clear that he had never forgotten the lesson learned that day, that even the strongest predators need to watch out for unexpected dangers. As Sarah watched this beautiful family enjoying their peaceful afternoon, she reflected on what she had witnessed. In a world that often seems harsh and unforgiving, she had been privileged to see something truly magical, a love so strong that it could overcome any obstacle, and a devotion so pure that it inspired everyone who witnessed it. The male lion had shown her that courage isn't just about being fearless. Sometimes the greatest courage comes from standing by those you love when they need you most, even when you don't know if your efforts will be enough. As the sun began to set over the African savanna, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and gold, the lion family settled down for the evening. The male lion positioned himself where he could watch over his mate and cubs. Just as he had done every night since that terrible day by the river, Sarah started her jeep and began the drive back to headquarters, her heart full of gratitude for having witnessed one of nature's most incredible love stories. She knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges and new adventures. She also knew that she would never forget the day she learned that even in the wild, love truly can conquer all. Thank you so much for staying with us until the end of this incredible true story. In a world where we often focus on the harsh realities of nature, it's beautiful to remember that animals, just like humans, are capable of extraordinary love, loyalty, and sacrifice. If this story touched your heart like it touched ours, please share it with others who might need a reminder that love and devotion exist everywhere in our amazing natural world.